So 250 years ago, right now, the revolution was well underway. The American Revolution had been started. The Continental Congress was meeting in this building, Independence Hall. And one thing I've been doing every day is just checking letters that the Founding Fathers wrote back and forth to each other. So I figured I'd check today and see if I find anything interesting and share it with you. I've got my laptop right here. So I'm gonna be looking down and checking for letters. Okay, today is July 16th. Let's read the letters for July 16th. There are two letters. Well, two documents. First is General Orders, and then second is Abigail Adams to John Adams. So let's get going. General Orders. Headquarters, Cambridge, countersigned Springfield, July 16th, 1775, Pearl, Carolina. The Continental Congress, having earnestly recommended that, quote, Thursday next, the 20th instant, be observed by the inhabitants of all the English colonies upon this continent as a day of public humiliation. Humiliation. I think that's a misspelling. Humiliation, fasting and prayer, that they may with united hearts and voice unfeignedly confess their sins before God and supplicate the all-wise and merciful disposer of events to avert the desolation and calamities of an unnatural war, end quote. The general orders that day to be religiously observed by the forces under his command, exactly in manner directed by the proclamation of the Continental Congress. It is therefore strictly enjoined on all officers and soldiers not upon duty to attend divine service at the accustomed places of worship, as well as in the lines, as the encampments and quarters. And it is expected that all those who go to worship do take their arms, ammunition, and accoutrement, and are prepared for immediate action, if called upon. If in the judgment of the officers, the works should appear to be in such forwardness as the utmost security of the camp requires, they will command their men to abstain from all labor upon that solemn day. It was with much surprise and concern that the general, in passing along the New Hampshire lines yesterday, observed a most wanton, mischievous, and unprofitable abuse of property in the destruction of many valuable trees, which were standing along the side of the road, out of the way of our works or guns. He therefore orders that an effective stop be put to such practices for the future, or severe punishment will fall upon the transgressors of this order. William Palfroy, Esquire, is appointed aide-de-camp to Major General Lee. All orders, whether written or verbal, coming from General Lee and delivered by Captain Palfroy, are to be punctually obeyed. A particular return to be delivered to the Adjutant General tomorrow at orderly time of the Regiment of Artillery, distinguishing how every man and officer in that corps is at present employed and where posted. Footnote number 1. Congress issued its call for the fast day on 12th of July, 1775. Footnote number 2. William Palfroy, a Boston merchant and business associate of John Hancock, was one of the group of gentlemen who greeted George Washington and Charles Lee at Worcester, Mass. and on their way to Cambridge. Palfrey was promoted to lieutenant colonel and made an aide-de-camp to George Washington on 6th of March, 1776. On 27th of April, 1776, he was chosen to succeed James Warren as Paymaster General, a post he held until his appointment as United States Consul to France in November 1780. The ship on which Palfrey sailed to his new assignment was lost at sea the following month. Next, let's read the letter from Abigail Adams to John Adams, 16th of July, 1775. Braintree. Dearest friend, I have this afternoon had the pleasure of receiving your letter by your friends Mr. Collins and Kane, and an English gentleman, his name I do not remember. It was next to seeing my dearest friend. Mr. Collins could tell me more particularly about you and your health than I have been able to hear since you left me. I rejoice in his account of your better health and of your spirits, though he says I must not expect to see you till next spring. I hope he does not speak the truth. I know, quote, or parentheses, I think I do, for I am not your bosom friend, for am I not your bosom friend? End parentheses, your feelings, your anxieties, your exertions, etc., more than those whom you are obliged to wear the face of cheerfulness. I have seen your letters to Colonel Palmer and Warren. I pity your embarrassments. How difficult the task to quench out the fire and the pride of private ambition, and to sacrifice ourselves and all our hopes and expectations to the public weal. How few have souls capable of so noble an undertaking. How often are the laurels worn by those who have had no share in earning them. But there is a future recompense of reward to which the upright man looks, and which he will most assuredly obtain, provided he perseveres unto the end. The appointment of the Generals Washington and Lee gives universal satisfaction. The people have the highest opinion of Lee's abilities, but you know the continuation of the popular breath depends much upon favorable events. I had the pleasure of seeing both the generals and their aides-de-camp soon after their arrival, and of being personally made known to them. They very politely expressed their regard for you. Major Mifflin said he had orders from you to visit me at Braintree. I told him I should be very happy to see him there, and accordingly sent Mr. Thaxter to Cambridge with a card to him and Mr. Reed to dine with me. Mrs. Warren and her son were to be with me. They very politely received the message and lamented that they were not able to, upon account of expresses which they were that day to get in readiness to send of. I was struck with General Washington. You had prepared me to entertain a favorable opinion of him, but I thought the one half was not told to me. Dignity with ease and complacency, the gentleman and soldier look agreeable blended in him. Modesty marks every line and feature of his face. Those lines of Dryden instantly occurred to me. Quote, mark his majestic fabric. He's a temple, sacred by birth, and built by hands divine. His soul's the deity that lodges there, nor is the pile unworthy of the god. End quote. General Lee looks like a careless, hardy veteran, and from his appearance brought to my mind his namesake Charles XII, King of Sweden. The elegance of his pen far exceeds that of his person. I was much pleased with your friend Collins. I persuaded them to stay coffee with me, and he was as unreserved and social as if we had been old acquaintances, and said he was very loath to leave the house. I would have detained them till morning, but they were desirous of reaching Cambridge. You have made often and frequent complaints that your friends do not write to you. I have stirred up some of them. Dr. Tufts, Colonel Quincy, Mr. Tudor, Mr. Thaxter, all have wrote you now, and a lady whom I am willing you should value preferably to all others save one. May not I, in my turn, make complaints? All the letters I receive from you seem to be wrote in so much haste that they scarcely leave room for a social feeling. They let me know that you exist, but some of them contain scarcely 6 lines. I want some sentimental effusions of the heart. I am sure you are not destitute of them, or are they all absorbed in the great public? Much is due to that, I know, but being part of the whole, I lay claim to a larger share than I have had. You used to be more communicative on Sundays. I always loved a Sabbath day's letter, for then you had a greater command of your time, but hush to all complaints. I am much surprised that you have not been more accurately informed of what passes in the camps. As to intelligence from Boston, 'tis but very seldom we are able to collect anything that may be relied upon, and to report the vague flying rumors would be endless. I heard yesterday by one Mr. Rollstone, a goldsmith, who got out in a fishing schooner, that their distress increased upon them fast. Their beef is all spent, their malt and cider all gone. All the fresh provisions they can procure they are obliged to give to the sick and wounded. 19 of our men, who were in jail and were wounded at the Battle of Charlestown, were dead. No man dared now to be seen talking to his friend in the street. They were obliged to be within every evening at 10 o'clock, according to martial law, nor could any inhabitant walk any street in town after that time without a pass from Gage. He has ordered all the molasses to be distilled up into rum for the soldiers, taken away all licenses, and given out others obliging to a forfeiture of 10 pounds L.M. if any rum is sold without written orders from the general. He give much the same account of the killed and wounded we have had from others. The spirit, he says, which prevails among the soldiers is a spirit of malice and revenge. There is no true courage and bravery to be observed among them. Their duty is hard, always mounting guard, with their packs at their back, ready for an alarm, which they live in continual hazard of. Dr. Elliot is not on board a man of war, as has been reported, but perhaps was left in town as the comfort and support of those who cannot escape. He was constantly with our prisoners. Mr. Lovell and Leach, with others, are certainly in jail. A poor milk cow was last week killed in town and sold for £1 sterling per pound. The transports arrived last week from York, but every additional man adds to their distress. There has been a little expedition this week to Long Island. There has been before several attempts to go on, but 3 men of war lay near, the cutters all round the island, that they could not succeed. A number of whaleboats lay at Germantown. 300 volunteers, commanded by one Captain Tupper, came on Monday evening and took the boats, went on and brought of 70-odd sheep, 15 head of cattle, and 19 prisoners, 13 of whom were sent by Simple Sapling to mow the hay, which they had very badly executed. They were all asleep in the house and barn when they were taken. There were 3 women with them. Our heroes came in triumph, not being observed by their enemies. This spirited up others. They could not endure the thought that the house and barn should afford them any shelter. They did not destroy them the night before for fear of being discovered. Captain Wild of this town, with about 25 of his company, Captain Gold of Weymouth with as many men of his, and some other volunteers to the amount of 100, obtained leave to go on and destroy the hay together with the house and barn. And in open day, in full view of the men of war, they set off from the moon, so-called covered by a number of men who were placed there, went on, set fire to the buildings and hay. A number of armed cutters immediately surrounded the island, fired upon our men. They came with a hot and continued fire upon them, the bullets flying in every direction, and the men of war's boats plying them with small arms. Many in this town, who were spectators, expected every moment our men would all be sacrificed, for sometimes they were so near as to be called to and damned by their enemies, and ordered to surrender, yet they all returned in safety, not one man even wounded. Upon the moon we lost one man from the cannon on board the man of war. On the evening of the same day, a man of war came and anchored near a great hill, and 2 cutters came to pig rocks. It occasioned an alarm in this town, and we were up all night. They remained there yet, but have not ventured to land any men. This town have chosen their representative. Colonel Palmer is the man. There was a considerable muster upon Thayer's side, and Vinton's company marched up in order to assist, but got sadly disappointed. Newcomb insisted upon it that no man should vote who was in the army. He had no notion of being under the military power. Said we might be so situated as to have the greater part of the people engaged in the military, and then all power would be wrested out of the hands of the civil magistrate. He insisted upon its being put to vote, and carried his point immediately. It brought Thayer to his speech, who said all he could against it. As to the situation of the camps, our men are in general healthy, much more so at Roxbury than Cambridge, and the camp in vastly better order. General Thomas has the character of an excellent officer. His merit has certainly been overlooked, as modest merit generally is. I hear General Washington is much pleased with his conduct. Every article here in the West India Way is very scarce and dear. In 6 weeks we shall not be able to purchase any article of the kind. I wish you would let Bass get me 1 pound of pepper, and 2 yards of black calaminco for shoes. I cannot wear leather if I go barefoot, the reason I need not mention. Bass, I cannot wear if I go barefoot, okay. Bass may make a fine profit if he lays in a stock for himself. You can hardly imagine how much we want many common small articles which are not manufactured amongst ourselves, but we will have them in time. Not 1 pin is to be purchased for love nor money. I wish you could convey me 1,000 by any friend traveling this way. 'Tis very provoking to have such a plenty so near us, but Tantalus like not able to touch. I should have been glad to have laid in a small stock of the West India articles, but I cannot get 1 copper. No person thinks of paying anything, and I do not choose to run in debt. I endeavor to live in the most frugal manner possible, but I am many times distressed. Mr. Trott I have accommodated by removing the office into my own chamber. And after being very angry and sometimes persuading, I obtained the mighty concession of the bedroom. But I am now so crowded as not to have a lodging for a friend that calls to see me. I must beg you would give them warning to seek a place before winter. Had that house been empty, I could have had an 100 a year for it. Many persons had applied before Mr. Trott, but I wanted some part of it myself, and the other part it seems I have no command of. We have since I wrote you had many fine showers, and although the crops of grass have been cut short, we have a fine prospect of Indian corn and English grain. Be not afraid, ye beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness do spring. The tree beareth her fruit, the vine and the olive yield their increase. We have not yet been much distressed for grain. Everything at present looks blooming. Oh, that peace would once more extend her olive branch. Quote, "'Tis day, be bread, and peace my lot, all else beneath the sun. Thou knowest if best bestowed or not, and let thy will be done." End quote. But is the Almighty ever bound to please, ruled by my wish, or studious of my ease? Shall I determine where his frowns shall fall, and fence my grotto from the lot of all? Prostrate his sovereign wisdom I adore, entreat his mercy, but I dare no more. Our little ones send duty to Papa. You would smile to see them all gather round Mama upon the reception of a letter to hear from Papa, and Charles, with open mouth, what does Par say? Did not he write no more? And little Tom says, I wish I could see Par. Upon Mr. Rice's going into the army, he asked Charles if he should get him a place. He catched at it with great eagerness and insisted upon going. We could not put him off, I guess. He cried and begged. No obstacle we could raise was sufficient to satisfy him, till I told him he must first obtain your consent. Then he insisted that I must write about it, and has been every day these 3 weeks insisting upon my asking your consent. At last I have promised to write to you, and am obliged to be as good as my word. I have now wrote you all I can collect from every quarter. 'Tis fit for no eye but yours, because you make all necessary allowances. Because you can make all necessary allowances. I cannot copy. There are yet in town 4 of the select men and some thousands of inhabitants, 'tis said. I hope to hear from you soon. Do let me know if there is any prospect of seeing you. Next Wednesday is 13 weeks since you went away. I must bid you adieu. You have many friends, though they have not noticed you by writing. I am sorry they have been so negligent. I hope no share of that blame lays upon your most affectionate Portia. Mr. Cranch has in his possession a barrel of Mrs. Wilkins' beer, which belonged to the late Dr. Warren. He does not know what to do with it. Suppose you should take it and give credit for it, as there will be neither wine, lemons, or anything else to be had but what we make ourselves. Write me your pleasure about it. Okay. Footnote number 1, parentheses in this sentence have been supplied for clarity. Footnote number 2. Mercy Warren. All the letters mentioned are in Adams' papers, including those of Quincy and Tudor on 11th and 19th of July, 1775, respectively. Those of Thaxter, 28th of June, and Tufts, 3rd of July, are printed above. Footnote number 3. The name of a character in Mercy Warren's satire, The Group, standing for Nathaniel Ray Thomas, Harvard, 1751, a well-to-do and prominent loyalist of Marshfield, who in 1774 had been named a mandamus counselor. Thomas House in Marshfield, and parentheses, later more famous as Daniel Webster's Massachusetts home, end parentheses, of Webster's dictionary, perhaps, had been used at his invitation as a barracks for British troops sent from Boston to keep order in Plymouth Company during the winter of 1774 and 1775. Immediately after the action at Concord, Thomas fled to Boston, where he proved serviceable to the British command, and thereafter to Nova Scotia, where he died impoverished. Footnote number 4. These actions occurred on 11th and 12th of July. Long Island lies in Boston Harbor, about halfway between Quincy and Boston. Quote, the moon, end quote, is Moon Island, just off Squantum Peninsula toward Long Island. For further details, see Richard Cranch to John Adams, 24th of July, below. You can also go back to 11th and 12th of July, those videos. I read letters about those, and you can listen to them in those videos. Fifth, footnote number 5. Great Hill is at the extremity of Hughes Neck in present Quincy, and Pig Rock is half a mile offshore from Great Hill. Footnote number 6. The election was held on 10th of July. The new House of Representatives convened at Watertown on the 19th, and 2 days later Joseph Palmer was elected to the council. On 14th of August, therefore, a new election was held at Braintree, and Colonel Ebenezer Thayer was returned to the House. Footnote number 7. The Hayden family. See the preceding letter. Yeah, that's yesterday. I believe yesterday, or, well, let's just click into it real quick. Okay, let's finish the footnote. Footnote number 8. This entire paragraph to this point was silently omitted by CFA. CFA is Charles Francis Adams when editing the present letter. Okay, but which letter was, okay, 12th of July. So the Hayden family was described, and I read this letter to you. This is all about Mr. Trott and the controversy around basically trying to kick him out to make room, because Mr. Trott refused to leave the house of the Adamses family and make room for their Hayden family friends. So that's what the Trott controversy is about. You can go back to 12th of July, a few videos back, and read this full letter if you're curious. It's a nice bit of drama. Okay, that does it for the letters for this July 16th, 1775. If you enjoyed listening to me read these letters from exactly 250 years ago today, while the American Revolution was happening, please give a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.